Good. It's housey. Thank you. It's the
I
Mocha
am
Champion
muted.
gaming
Now
host.
I'm not muted.
Oh, you're muted. Rip.
Whoops.
Rip.
Whatever.
Muted.
I was muted the entire intro. I'm not going to say it again.
Oh.
It was
But
good, guys. It was
It was a
epic.
good
You
intro,
missed it
too.
all.
I'm
That
really
might have been
mad.
the best intro of all time, too. You guys will never get it. Sorry.
Terrible. It's lost in the ether now.
So good. Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Torp's a bozo.
Yeah,
Really
well, there you
should've gone
go.
with that.
See, this is what we get. So, Dawngate things.
Mars?
Mars.
Hi.
Do you read the Chronicles, Mars?
Yeah, Mars, do you read the Chronicles?
I do.
Well, here you go to everybody. Oh,
We have Linkmaster Muzzy back. Thank God. Last week we had no Linkmaster.
oh yeah, was it horrible?
It was terrible.
Good. I was too busy on a boat, getting a cold. It was great.
Me too. I got sick last week too.
Yeah, I read all of that Skype. You were like, it's killing me.
I was dying. Like I
So-
really, just sneezing
Did you guys?
and sniffling.
Did you guys postpone something?
Yeah.
Because-
Bib got postponed. It's gonna be this week.
we go.
We'll cover all that later on, though, because Miss Zeri's going on adventures, graffiti style, and running into sand pirates, and shit kind of got real this panel today.
Yeah, I love this. I can't wait to see how Kagan reacts to this, because like it starts off with him pointing his gun at her, his hook arm or whatever, and oh no, wait, yeah, that's his hook arm, and then like there's no hook in it first of all. And,
Yeah, I didn't understand what was up with that. Maybe
it might be why
It's
he's in the
prologue.
city.
It's the
It might be.
prologue.
Right.
We're still in the prologue.
Oh,
so.
okay.
Yeah, he might be in the city because he's getting it buffed and sharpened. Who knows?
That's true.
Because otherwise, why is he this desert man in the city? But I'm sure Laments, if he were here, God rest his soul. I don't know where he is actually, but
Rest
he
in
would
peace,
he would
Space
have
Camp.
an answer. Yeah. But anyway, I love it. This is hilarious. And at the end, she says, "It can eat your face." It's hilarious.
I really like the little 3-panel thing where she Kagan stands up, he's towering over her. Zeri goes from being kind of frightened by him, and then she like toughens up and does her Zeri thing and talks about kicking ass. And I also thought it was funny that she ends up summoning Muse, which is her W, which is the thing everyone hates about her. I didn't know if that was kind of like a
Whatever.
dig, but I thought that was kind of funny.
They're just trying to raise the visceralness of that ability by prominently featuring it in the Chronicles.
I think it's a good strategy.
You'll be able to target the enemy soon. It'll eat their face.
If that happens, I'll be all in. Zeri rework. The butterfly eats faces now.
Yeah,
Boom.
I mean, he is smirking at the end. He is like, kind of like, I like this girl. She's got grit. I could hear him saying something like that.
Yeah.
I love the graffiti that she did on the side there near the bottom to the left. Is that supposed to be Renzo?
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Like who is that? I'd like to know who that is. Maybe I'm missing it. Maybe there's an obvious answer and I'm just missing it. But he's got a little bit of a curly mustache. It could be the Renzo. I'd like to know who that is.
That would be funny if she's out mocking Renzo. I just like that
Right.
she's in her
Gotta
like
be, though,
graffiti
right?
outfit.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
I think it's funny though. She goes into this this mode where she's trying to be like sneaky and covert, yet she's got all these neon colors on.
Yeah.
Not so sneaky and covert when you're going to graffiti this famous arch that they have. Definitely Renzo. It's Renzo. Totally.
Yeah, everyone's
Renzo.
all in on the Renzo, so it's got to be Renzo.
Good.
Kagan kind of looks like Renzo a little bit too,
Yeah, a little bit.
with his little
Yeah.
mustache. So maybe like Zeri's just like, mustachioed men have an affinity towards her or something. I don't know where I'm going
That's
with that.
I also noticed the the lines between the comics, at least lately, with like the Zeri arc, have been like more artistically blurred, whereas some of the previous ones are just straight lines. So it's like the flare is all over the place with this one.
Oh yeah, look at that, like the panel
It-
lines in
Yeah.
the
The
middle
paint
there.
swirls.
That is very cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Freya's panel lines were all like jagged and rage looking, and these ones are kind of cute and painty and like paint dribbles and butterfly. So it's cool. I
Yeah.
like it.
I mean, they've been doing the same thing with the font, right? When people are whispering, the font's all like quiet, and then like was it some of them were like really big, and Renzo's when he's talking, they're all like italicized and stuff. It's
Uh-huh.
old timey. It's cute.
It adds a nice effect to it. So we're still waiting on the next living lore vote. No word on that front quite yet. But I imagine that should be coming soon. Maybe something we get this week because no patch this week or anything like that. Yeah, so I guess moving on from lore-related things, we can talk about Sakari. And Sakari has come out, and everything is spiders all the time.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
So
everything.
so this is your heaven, is what I'm.
No, it's
understanding.
not. I thought it was really funny for like the first couple times I played her. I'm like, why is she talking about spiders all the time? And it kept bothering me. But I share her sentiments of disliking spiders and not wanting to be around them. So I'm with you there, Sakari. What do you guys think about Sakari as a shaper, though? Mars, go ahead. Give us your Sakari thoughts, your initial feedback, impression, blah blah blah.
Incredibly strong. She makes Varian even better, which he didn't need, but it does. And then, yeah, she can kind of very easily block off anything. Creep blocking strats can work. People haven't really done them yet, but that'll take some time. They can work. You can make jungle camps kill the creeps in lane. You can deny entire waves. That kind of stuff can be a thing.
Really?
Yep. Back when BDNA and I did it months and months ago.
Sergeant
we
Beaks?
had
Sergeant Beaks.
Yeah, back at Sergeant Beaks, we had the jungle camps killing lane minions. And
They fight
that'll
each
happen,
other?
I think. Yep, they fight each other.
I do remember that now. You guys did some next level shenanigans, and that is true now with her.
Yep.
You know, with any environmental influencing kind of ability, there's always fun little tricks you can do with stuff like that. Sometimes intended, sometimes not. It will be interesting to see where Sakari goes in that direction.
Just to be clear, it doesn't pull camps. You lead the minions to the camps.
Mhm.
Correct? Because
You
the
can
camps can't
actually
leave
do
their
both.
area.
You can
Can't
do both.
leave their
Yes, they
area
can.
too far.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can.
Really?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
You can
The-
pull
the jungle
camps into the lane and have the binding kill the majority of the mob for you. You can do both. You can pull and you can do both. Pulling's obviously a lot harder. Pulling, you have to use the small minions in a camp to block it and force the only path. The only path for the jungle minion has to be to go around the barrier, go through the binding aggro, and then around the other side.
But what
But
about
then the
how
binding
the
will attack it.
camps reset now, though? Like,
They don't reset if you're still attacking one of them. If one of them is still able to hit you, the entire thing doesn't reset. The biggest problem before was that it would reset when anything happened. So you'd be hitting something, a random ass small minion would reset and break everything, and everyone hated that. So now, as long as you're aggroing one of the things, it won't reset.
Oh.
So you can pull things all over the place.
I mean, you have to aggro it within its area. You can't be
Yeah.
attacking it outside of its leash area.
Well,
Because it will still get to a point and leave.
you can actually attack it out. Someone has to be aggroing it in the camp aggro area.
In the camp aggro
Other
area, thank you.
people
That's
can
what it is.
attack it outside of the area, and it's just fine, including bindings. And bindings do
Right.
attack it.
That's so funny. That's so funny. Well, thank you for that. And we're going to see tons of games thrown just trying.
People just have to
trying
figure
do
out
that.
how to do it, because I haven't
Yeah.
actually showed anyone how to do it yet.
Yeah.
But it can be done.
what
Very
about
fun.
just her overall feel? Like, how about like roles? Do you think she's a better gladiator? Is she a better tactician? Has anybody tried hunter? Are these, you know, where is Sakari's ideal role for solo queue? Maybe for competitive play? You know, what do you guys think about Sakari's role?
tact 100%. Like she
Yep.
can't be anything else.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
that's how
no
she is.
point in playing her anything else.
Tactician all the way. Just lacks the wave clear. I mean, with her ammo system, I played her Gladiator a couple games, and I was able to farm pretty well. She lacks the AOE clear, which
She's
hurts.
viable.
But
I mean, it's the phrase I like to use is viable but not optimal. I mean, you can certainly break the meta and put her in Gladiator, but she's not going to do it as good as other shapers, and she can proc Tactician perfectly with 50 fucking shots on her Q, so you don't really need the guaranteed Gladiator Vim.
I have not seen, at least at my level, I have not seen a Sakari be a carry by maxing or by getting a lot of damage, but rather all the carry Sakaris that I have seen have all built tanky haste and just wrecked people because of it. Maybe like 2 or 3 damage items, but the rest is just like super tanky. Prosperity, subjugation, although I think subjugation's weird on her, and something else. And I was like, wow, okay, so we can't kill her. She can slow you down forever. And since then you can't even touch her, she doesn't die, and then she blows you up and you're dead. So,
yeah, and plus the synergy with her passive Black Ice, I think it's called. That's what gives her armor. So, she has inherently, tanky kind of stats. When you build on top of that, it just becomes giant wall of immovable ice.
Yeah. So how do you guys feel about maxing W first? I've seen quite a few people doing that to great effect because it makes their Q come up so much faster. Refill.
I haven't seen that, but maybe I just haven't noticed it. I mean, I
or
don't
maybe
know
you're
why
just not in platinum.
I lost a lot of games on one of my accounts, so there's a pretty good chance.
Right.
I don't see why you would level up an ability that doesn't give you damage. Like, E seems like
power?
the go-to. Yeah, I mean, Zeri's W doesn't give her power too. Doesn't mean you're gonna max it, right? Like your spell scaling is the one you're gonna want to go with.
Well, it depends. Are you building her tank so you don't care about damage?
If you're building Sakari as a
point
tank, and I've said this a lot of times, like play somebody that's gonna benefit from tank stats. I'm tired of seeing tacticians on my team that build tanky and don't do shit. Like it's solo queue, you gotta carry, man.
Damage is
The
tank.
problem is she doesn't benefit from damage really at all. Like the whole purpose that she's okay, the only purpose that she's in a lane and in a team fight is her utility. Like you don't pick her for her damage. You don't pick her for that chance that she might newt someone if she lands the majority of her Qs later on in the fight. Like that's not why you pick her. You pick her because she slows and she's annoying as hell and she has a bunch of walls and she spams all that shit out. And why be squishy and have a chance of you getting blown up and not having any utility when you can then be tanky, have your only purpose be fulfilled, and who cares if you do a little less damage on your Qs and your Es? The point is you're still slowing, you're still walling, you're still having your purpose.
Her ult is pretty boss too.
A damage-focused shaper still has that utility. I mean, you're basically building tanky because you can't position correctly and get blown up. I mean, I can appreciate that, but I mean, if you're playing correctly, you could build damage and do an absurd amount of damage and still have really good utility. Or you can build tanky, have the same utility, and do very little damage.
What kind of build do you like on her, John? Like where?
I mean, I don't care what you're building. Just don't rush prosperity and do 0 damage. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
But technically, if you rush prosperity, it's like what 8 minutes. So what level are you around that time? You're probably 6. So that means that you've got what 3 points maybe in your E, 1 in your alt, 1 in your like maybe 4 points or whatever it is. So when they can't kill you and you've stopped them from moving and you're just freely applying your Q stacks, your E is going to be bonkers power anyway, even though you haven't built any power. That's what I think has been her most effective at my level. I always have to say that caveat. That's been the most effective thing, like not being able to kill her, and she just makes you go nowhere. And so if she doesn't kill you, her team certainly will.
I mean, it's fair. I mean, that's certainly a play style that you can take.
Play style.
I prefer my mages to carry. Like
right, but does Calm always carry?
Yeah, I mean that's the super haste Calm build. prosperity
I
and
don't-
all
I
that
don't-
hate.
I don't think
Tanky,
Calm always
duress,
carries.
calm, and
Right.
he does well, and he's the only other control mage. I mean, they're the two control mages in the jam.
Right. So I think they build to a very similar style, even if it's slightly different, you know.
It's fair.
But again, play style. All people's decisions and choices. The fact that she can be built damage, the fact that she can be built tank, means that, you know, at least she has she has some ways that she can go. I've even seen her just like straight auras and just never die anyway, and just buffs her team massively. What is it, hostility on her and stuff like that. So she's still dealing damage and helping her team out a lot. Mars, would you say don't get Harmony on her because it doesn't really benefit her Q? Doesn't really benefit her. She's limited by.
I don't know if
probably
I'd
wouldn't
get
bother
Harmony.
with that. Yeah,
Right.
it's not worth it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, if you want aura items, I definitely think this is finally like a shaper where hostility actually is a really good aura item for her. A little bit of health, a little bit of power, a little bit of mastery. Helps everybody else do damage to capitalize on her slows if she's landing her CCs and all that. Yeah, and I mentioned it before. I think my favorite thing about her is her ult, though. I think that's such an awesome ability. Goes nice with wombo combo type comps, and those are always really fun. You know, you get a Kagen hook, you drop the ice ball on everybody. It's like, it's super dope. Gets me real excited. What about, so, I mean, competitive viability, Mars? Is Sakari a shaper? I mean, I don't think anyone wants to put her on Amaranth tier right now, but, like, do you think you'll be seeing her in tournaments? Is this something you guys might be planning for or planning against, or?
I'd put her above Amaranth in a lot
really?
of lanes. Yeah.
Okay.
Amaranth in lane isn't actually super amazing. Amaranth is kind of for her ult. Like, that's her main function is that she ults the team and she blows up one person. Like, that's kind of what she does. Sakari gives you the lane. Sakari rivals Calm in terms of just complete lane control and lane pressure, to the point that I'd actually say that Sakari can zone a Calm if she gets a really... If she plays level 1 correctly, Sakari zones the lane the rest of the game. Like,
You don't think
the
you don't
level
think
1 is
because
hugely
her-
important.
You don't think that because her Q is so easily interrupted by either somebody else taking the hit, so it makes the stacks fall off, or even a minion getting in the way, like you just miss it and it hits a minion? I mean, she's pretty unreliable damage-wise, it seems. But
Well, she zones with a Q, not her E. Her E isn't what actually zones.
No, that's what I'm saying. But the Q can be interrupted so easily by other objects. Is it just because when you get hit by it, you're screwed because now your carry in lane can take advantage of you being slowed or the other person being slowed?
Well,
is that the zoning?
The key is that if you did a good level 1, right? If you end up having a good trade at level 1 and you have more HP than them, you can just stand in front of the wave, throw out your 10 Qs, back off for 6 seconds, go back out and throw out your 10 Qs over and over again. Gotcha. And if they try to trade with you after you've already landed Qs, which, by the way, your 1,000 range Q is way farther than what they can hit you with. If they try to trade with you after that, they're already slowed. They're really screwed at that point. So they can't. So they sit there under binding, and they just take it. And they take it the entire time, and they just have to sit there and wait until either they outscale you in levels. So, like, something like a Glad Petrus can do something, like Cerulean hits 6, they can do something, that kind of deal. Or they wait for the jungler. Yeah.
Right.
Or they wait for jungler. Like, that's the only options. Like, if you lose a trade level 1 against her, you're not coming back.
Now, and Ashabel's Q that she can spam on a very similar cooldown, and it's not limited by any other resource besides cooldown, and it's also not blocked by anything. So, are you saying that she's subpar compared to the Sakari, even though you also get a slow off with her Q?
I think they're entirely different things.
And it's AoE; it's not single target. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's scarier in lane to go against, Sakari or Ashabel at this point?
Sakari for the wall.
The
wall is the wall is the X factor there.
Right. It's not the Qs, it's the wall.
No, yeah. The wall is the fear. If you get like 2 Q slows on you, you can get walled without even trying. Like, they don't have to even have effort to wall you if you're slowed a couple times.
That's fair.
So very nice. So Mars and other guys, balance-wise, do we think Sakari's okay? Does she need to be tuned one way or another? Is it still too early to tell? Like, what are your thoughts as far as balance? I don't think she's overtuned. I haven't played a whole lot this week with Sakari. If anything, maybe bring down the range of her Q like 50, because that thing is like it almost even looks like it hits further than the animation goes. A couple times I was like, oh damn, that's max range. Like I didn't realize how far that actually went. So like if just off the cuff observation from me, like, yeah, if you wanted to change something, I don't think it's like the power ratios or anything like that. I think maybe just take away some of the range on her Q a little bit, and it'll be okay, because otherwise it's like, yeah, like if she can shoot her Q as far as Ashabel can shoot hers, like, why are you going to pick Ashabel? Like, I don't know. I like Ashabel being the more long-range Q poker. Sakari be more of a little more mid-range because she brings all these other things to the table. So those are my thoughts.
I mean, I've been playing my 100 Viridian games. I'm on like 40 or something like that. So someone with mobility, she doesn't really represent an issue. Even with, the walls and stuff, it tends to be fairly easy at my level to get the mobility and the burst on her. And then she's just, she's a non-factor at that point, especially if you pick on her early. So I don't really know if she's... I mean, Dweeble said, she could be good, but I bet stats are going to show her underperforming, and I think that's because she has a skill cap, or, a higher skill.
It's the Ashabel syndrome. I mean, you're going to have these shapers with incredible power and incredible what-ifs, but because those what-ifs are so hard to activate, it's the same thing they talked about with item premiums way back in the day. The stuff that you can't utilize all the time is the stuff that's going to trend poorly and feel OP, and then they're going to be like, shit, how do we nerf and buff the shaper at the same time? Because from solo queue, there's no way that she's going to come in the gate like 55+% win rate and need nerfs. Like, there's no way. The Sakari's in solo queue are getting blown up and being useless more often than they're carrying. I mean, selection bias, whatever, but I saw way more Sakari's underperforming than I did overperforming this week. But again, 20 game selection bias.
Do you think that
I could
calls
watch
for
20 feed.
for
You
buffs,
could watch
John?
20. What's that?
Do you think she needs to be buffed, or you don't? You think
I
just kind of leave her?
doubt that she's going to be performing, and I don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to leave her the same or if they're
People
going to
need to be
retune her.
buffed. People
Right.
need to be
Buff
buffed.
skill, not
People
the
need to
shape.
play
Yeah.
better.
Well, that's true, because if you look at Gnar in League of Legends, he came out 2 weeks ago and came out with like 39% win rate, and then has already came up to 44. I mean, they're buffing him, but I mean, again, we don't really know what the stats will show. I'm not expecting an overpowered week 2 nerf shaper. I just don't see it.
The one thing I'd say though is that it's entirely too easy to wall. There is basically, okay, this is going to sound bad. There's basically no skill involved in actually walling things. They're giant wall pillars, like they're huge. They auto lock, and I get why they auto lock. Like I don't disagree with the auto lock, but because of it, and because of the size of them, you can throw out like 2 Ws and block a jungle route, and you can do it within a quarter second. And that's it. Like,
So,
you're done.
so
You're
would you
stuck.
suggest like a cooldown between walling, between each pillar?
I'm usually against that because I think it just makes the game feel clunky. Like, I
Smaller
don't even like her.
walls?
I would prefer smaller walls than anything. I think if it was just, if you had to actually, make a shape to block, or you know what I mean? Like, if you actually had to do something to block people rather than just have 2 ice walls and you're stuck there for 5 seconds, like that's what I don't really like. Like, I think that part is too easy.
Have you noticed any bugs with the walls at all?
Yes. There's so many times where I've just looked at someone stuck in one ice block near a
One ice
wall,
block,
and
yeah.
like pathing will not take them around it, and it's almost as if they're literally stuck in that block, and I'm just looking at it, I'm like, what? But I don't know, maybe
Also,
they actually were pinned against the wall right there, and it was faster to not go around, but it just felt off. But it's cool tech,
Getting
but
pinned is very easy.
yeah,
It's very easy to get pinned.
yeah.
Has
It
anyone
feels like I should
else?
be able to go around, and it feels like I should never be able to get pinned by one ice block. And I've seen it
Right, should
happen
be
to my
two.
allies, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what? That's broken. But
Yeah.
like
I've
Mars said,
also
it's
seen some people
well,
boosting their move speed
mhm.
Yeah.
by walling themselves, and all of a sudden they're like super far forward, and you're like, did you just free blink because you had your W up?
Yeah.
What the
I
hell?
call it a pseudo force staff. It's
Right.
Yeah.
basically force staff from Dota, but requires a bit more effort.
Yeah.
Actually, the funny thing is, this is one situation where lock camera saves you. Um, if you throw your wall down right behind you, you can just spam click it, and it'll keep pushing you forward. And if you have lock camera on, if you hold space or whatever, you just keep hitting it and you keep boosting forward.
There you go,
Don't
Muzzy.
have
That's
to
something
use
you
your
could
mouse.
try.
I've done it.
Yeah,
There you go.
it's just you get
That's
to just
why I
boost
brought it
for
up.
free. You can boost enemies towards you. You can boost allies away. You can boost
Yeah.
you away.
I pushed
It's
somebody
the first
sideways
step.
into a laser beam. I was like,
Yeah.
seriously? Sweet.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
if
think that's
intended.
okay though. That's something
But
I
it's
kind of
cool.
like
Well,
about
no,
it.
that's fine.
It's
That's
definitely
just a strong
cool.
mechanic.
I might
Yeah.
agree with you that it might be a little too easy to wall things off. Like, I mean, obviously, I'm gonna look to Anivia and League because of a wall mechanic, but like, it seems much harder to like properly wall with Anivia than it does with Sakari, and I think that's by design.
Yeah.
I think they wanted it to feel good and easy because like it is much
that's-
easier to screw up a wall. You know, anytime you're messing with terrain, you know, you got to think about like screwing up your own team and all that too. So
I've seen so many Sakaris, like someone's coming and 5 ice cubes fall right on that guy's face because they just spam W in that general direction.
I've also-
And it's sad because more often than not, it's actually successful and like gets like a good block. And I'm like, you didn't mean
Yeah.
to perfectly.
They
into
didn't
that
do
guy.
anything. Yeah, it's just the auto lock is like, here, let me puke ice on the ground, and
Yeah.
it's fine.
But like, so how do we fix that? How do you make it so it's rewarding to do, but also takes skill? Like that's where I'm kind of like, ugh. Like, is it as simple as make the block smaller so it matters more? I don't like the cooldown thing we talked about earlier. That doesn't
Right.
sound
No,
like the
the
I,
point
answer.
is-
I wouldn't mind if it was forced not smart cast. Like you had to actually place each one. I don't know that I like the. I know they would, but I don't like that it's placed. You know, it's forced smart cast. I think that's weird.
I don't like that either.
Yeah.
But
I don't like
but
force
again,
smart cast
like,
on anything.
like even if you had the option to not smart cast, it would be great. But yeah, I guess forced not smart cast wouldn't be good either.
Yeah.
What about
I mean,
like drawing a line on the ground? Does that make it easier? Like, is something?
You know, I already
That'd
have
be
ideas
neat.
for Shaper like that.
I mean, they
that
auto
would be like a
lock together,
Wii,
so
a
it's
Wii remote
essentially
type casting. You'd like draw a
Yeah.
circle and then be like activate, and it would like
Yeah.
in like a circle. It would certainly be more accurate, and I would certainly understand when someone drew a perfect circle or half circle versus like 5 ice cubes just randomly just plop on the ground because
yeah.
you
There's so much no warning. there's
Yeah,
it's
maybe
brutal.
actually, yeah, maybe if there was like a quarter to half
Oh,
second
cast
delay
time?
on the wall coming up. Well, no, not cast time. Just when you place it, there's like
Oh.
a quarter to half second delay of it erecting. So you can't just immediately get the block. You
Right.
can't immediately puke on the ground and get everything. And it would actually provide a little bit, like if you could say blink forward in a quarter second to avoid it all, like good on you, right? Like that's
Right.
good reaction time. You should have that. But right now you kind of like are screwed. You get blocked and then you're forced to blink.
Have you also noticed that a non-damage ability, like Koggen's W, actually causes tower aggro, where Koggen's W does not cause tower aggro? Her ice blocks will cause tower aggro.
I'm
Oh, really?
Yeah.
okay with that, kind of.
I think because it's so
That's-
strong, I'm okay with it, but I don't think that it fits the mold that they've come up with.
But you're actually impacting the shaper, like more so than just slowing the area where the
80%
guy is
slow
walking.
is practically not moving.
But it's still like like you're affecting the ground, not the character, not the shaper.
Sure.
If you
Sure.
hit someone
Yeah.
with an ice block, like you have impacted them. So I could see.
It's a power thing too, right? Like if you put a Nisa
That's what I
E
was
down, you actually deal 0.1 damage,
Mhm.
but take tower aggro. Koggen doesn't take tower aggro, so I guess his tower diving is just technically better because he can put a slow under there and not take immediate aggro ish. I mean,
think
if
it has to do with the hard CC.
Yeah. I mean, you
Because like
physically
Dibs
can't
does it
move.
too.
Yeah. They would have had to have coded that specifically because right now it only procs on damage, and this must be some sort of new aggro mechanic where blocking pathing procs a call for help on the turret. I'm not entirely sure how that works.
I think it
Right.
might just be displacement because like you can Dibs E a minion and knock someone back and get aggro.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it might just be a displacement thing, which is interesting. So as far as Sakari goes, do you guys have any other final thoughts before we move on? Just give everyone a real quick chance to sum everything up.
All I want to say is they've hit the mark again on things that in a vacuum look more broken than anything in LoL. Like for example, a 7-stack Shatter taking down like half of a tank's health is pretty incredible, and like the setup is incredibly difficult in theory. And walling off an entire team, like the perfect scenarios are truly broken, and the average scenarios are just okay. And I think they really did a good job with that. Interested in seeing how well she's performing, and what we'll see maybe next week or the week after if she needs a buff or a nerf either way.
Displacements will trigger binding calls for help, since you can use them to kick people out from under bindings or into teams. Right, but what if you just put an ice thing down underneath the binding while the binding is shooting a creep, and you don't hit anything with your ice?
Is it still aggroing in that situation?
that'd be
I don't think it is.
Well,
I don't know,
if
but
it
I'd like to find
displaces
out.
them, it would aggro.
Yeah,
That's what
right,
he's
It sounds like
that's
it's
all
only
saying.
Right.
displacement.
Well, I'm wondering. I might open it up later and try out, just see if like in a single person, bot match or whatever, if it will aggro even if there's nobody there. Just it doesn't. If
What,
it doesn't,
If it
push
doesn't push
shouldn't
someone,
trigger
it shouldn't
binding
trigger
aggro.
binding aggro. So.
Okay, cool. No, that's good to know.
But you could try it anyway, see if it's a bug.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go give that a shot then. Cool. Thank
And
you.
the one thing I'll say is that they probably need to not touch her for a month, and after a month hits, she'll be considered OP. That'll be the thing.
And
Just
then
let everyone know now. She'll
when
be
you
OP
touch
in 3 weeks, and that's when she probably needs her wall touched. I'm just gonna throw it out there. The ease of the wall is what everyone's gonna complain about in a month.
Yeah, it's funny how quickly people flare up when it's like, oh, this shaper sucks. It's like, well, you haven't given anyone time to learn how to use that shaper or the synergy between that shaper and team composition.
The
or
opposite
items,
is true as well, right?
It's true. It is true.
Which was which was the shaper that came out that Twitch chat? I remember it was like 2 or 3 guys who I know played like hundreds of games were literally like, this is going to be the most broken thing ever. And then the shaper came out and it was like underpowered, needed a buff. Was it Test? That's right. You're like, oh my god, Test is going to just
during
dominate
the test
solo
reveal,
queue.
people were losing their minds.
Yeah, they're like, he's going to one-shot everybody.
Yeah,
but I do agree. In a month, like all the Sakari bandwagoners who suck and can't play her are gonna quit, and like those win rates are gonna climb. The experts, like the people who main that shaper, are gonna just start like completely dominating.
They're gonna do shit with her that we've never seen, and we're gonna be like, yeah, she needs to be nerfed. Please nerf her.
Well, I think having high skill cap capabilities of doing crazy good plays like that is certainly absolutely okay. If it's really hard to do, as long as it doesn't like win the game, right? Like if you don't roll RNG a 1 billion crit, be like, it's balanced because it only occasionally happens. I'm not saying stuff like that, but like if you play a fight perfectly and do a perfect ice block in a great area of the map, like that's no different than a 5-man Amaranth ult that one shots a team. Like I mean, those use cases that are hard to get to, I'm super excited about them being overpowered, and obviously there's competitive balance questions, but I'd rather them be in the game and tuned well than to just wet noodle the game, and I hope that that's a common sentiment.
Cool. All right. So I'm sure we'll be talking more about Sakari in the coming weeks, but for now we're gonna move on. So this week, I mean, kind of, it's been carrying over on this show, at least the past 2 weeks, when we've been talking about items and the normalization and all that kind of stuff. And it really seems to have the community kind of in a little fluster, getting a little hot and bothered under the collar. Some very lengthy Reddit posts have been posted over the past couple days by two of the people you see here. A lot of it having to do with just, like the item normalization and prices and game flow in general, snowballing, just kind of meta kind of concepts just about game flow in general. So I will let the authors of said books talk about this. It's like who wants to be George R.R. Martin over here?
John, go ahead. Start it off.
Yeah, John. Your big post you talked about.
The big post you did. The big one?
Okay, so, all right. So, entering the ring on the left side, the Blue Muzzy. Entering the one on the right side, MarsCaturix. Somebody's in the blue trunk, someone's in the red trunk, somebody likes item No, wait. I'm the one that likes item normalization, but I'm staying out of there. Two different plans, take it away, RNG, Mars.
Okay.
So, Mars, give us a quick rundown on give us the TLDR on your post.
Yeah, sure. Item pricing normalization in the current system sucks. It kind of kills all comebacks. Whoever gets the first tier 2 item wins. And through this various set of discussions, I've come to the conclusion that what actually needs to happen is there needs to be varying amounts of slot efficiency in order to allow for comebacks, because you need early game and late game items.
Talk to me like I'm a moron, and I don't really understand what slot efficiency is. Just imagine that's the case.
Sure. Okay. So slot efficiency is basically a rough comparison of how many stats an item gives on one single item slot. So like what I used earlier was like take supremacy and wisdom. If you have 0 power, supremacy has more slot efficiency than wisdom, because wisdom's only going to give you 60 plus 20%. So another 72. Supremacy gives you 90. So it's going to be more slot efficient because it gives you more power, and it only concerns with power. I mean, obviously it gets more complicated with more stats. And then if you have like more than 150 power, wisdom has more efficiency than supremacy.
Right, but is that a good thing?
Is that it's
I think that's
is slot efficiency a good thing? Is that what we're asking?
Well, slot efficiency is just a concept. Having multiple slot efficiencies is a good thing, because having varying slot efficiencies is what creates early game items versus late game items. Like, it's probably better to even compare with, like, say, LoL items, because it's kind of hard in the current item set. But, like,
nope, sorry, this is Dawngate. We have to put it in Dawngate terms because this is not League of Legends, and it does not function like League of Legends.
It doesn't function the same, but the item shops are the same.
Time out, real quick. Yeah. It does not function identically to League of Legends, but League of Legends is a close analog.
But the difference is the game curve
it doesn't matter.
That we have in this game, very different.
It's just for describing how slot efficiencies work.
That is true.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
So the way that to have varying slot efficiencies, you have to have items that end at different price points, essentially. So like Doran's Blade or Doran's Shield or whatever ends very, very early, and they're only they don't upgrade into anything. They're very early game items. While, like, say, Infinity Edge, like, builds out of 3 items. It takes a lot of gold. It's an end game item. That kind of disparity, and then having items in between that, to where you have items that kind of end in the mid-range, that disparity is what creates the item buying decisions that allow for comebacks to happen. They allow for team strategy on whether they want to go for early game, mid game, or late game, and allow the enemy to build to counteract the plan that they see the enemy doing.
Okay, and you know what? To be honest, Mars, I think I'm a little more in your camp on this thing than other. The normal. While I understand why there is item normalization, I don't. It never felt good to me, and I've reiterated that before. But then I saw. I mean, this might be jumping ahead, but Gasty then responded to either your post or Muzzy's and said it was yours. So basically saying, like, we're kind of moving away from that model where everything is going to be standardized. So is this okay, Muzzy? You like the normalization, right?
Well, the thing is, I think that they're giving up on normalization too quickly without trying to come up. I mean, maybe they have. I can't really claim that they're not trying to, but I'm saying I haven't seen anybody try to make normalization work instead of just complaining about it or saying it doesn't work. Because just because you
Well,
say it doesn't work doesn't mean that it
just
doesn't work.
just one thing, real quick.
Yes,
When people like a system, they don't log onto a forum and complain about it.
it's
So
true.
you're
This
always
is true.
only going to see
It's true.
complaints.
It's
Unless
yeah.
you roll a divine sharper reward, then you'll see a post for it, and a bunch of really angry
I
nerds who
unlocked
got
Fenris.
8 nuts in a row
Oh,
are going
it's
to
so
downvote
true.
it. Back to your
But
point.
what if the divines are normalized? You see people complaining about that too.
Oh my god. But my point is, like, I decided to be that guy who makes a post that says, "Hey, normalization doesn't have to not work." And so I'm not necessarily like I have a lot of the same issues that you guys have about normalization. I was really concerned with the fact that it would make it feel like, well, now I don't have any choice. But the more that I thought about it, I was like, well, there's no choice in the current system because people can get ahead too easily. I don't want to go into mine too early, but my point is that I think that don't just say something won't work and then give reasons why it won't work, because there are reasons why it will work, and maybe you need to actually make compromises because there are positive things from a system, and so you have to try to create the system or reiterate the system in a way that makes it work still. Even if it does a little bit of give and take. I think there are some really good things that come out of normalization. I think there are some things that you guys are saying that I agree with, that it feels lackluster. Like, why would you do that? It seems so boring. But I think that you got to give it its fair shot and not just dismiss it because it doesn't work, especially because it doesn't work in the current system. And I'm going to be the guy that says it. There is a progression update coming that this is meant
Dude.
for. Hey, you have to say it. I know. We have now gone 0 days without somebody saying it. So
I don't like that argument because it's not the proper defense. Because, like, in my opinion,
wait, which argument? Pronouns,
that
sorry.
don't worry that it quote unquote sucks because it will get better someday. I don't like that argument because I don't think it sucks right now. And 99% of, in my opinion, the changes made towards item normalization have been a positive one. And if you want my opinions on what's still bad later, we can get into it before we go on to everyone.
Oh.
After we go on to everyone else. But, like, I just saying that it's bad now, but it will get better later. Like, that just shows that the developers are like, oh yeah, we totally think it sucks now, but it will get better later. And I don't think that's the case. I think the
Sure.
case is we've hit most of our marks, and there's still work to be done.
Mhm.
That's my opinion.
I agree with you. I think I might be one of the few people who says that maybe I'm not one of the few, maybe I'm one of the many, but I don't think that judging the future system in this system or the future setup in this current system is fair to the setup, because you're not really giving you're not going to be able to fact check it. You're not going to be able to say this does or does not work because you're looking at it from a
Right.
wrapped up in the
It's
wrong
a mild
package.
cop out, but it is true that if the
Right.
progression system in its full implementation is designed around a slightly different game, sure, it's theoretically impossible for either side of the equation
Yes,
to tell you
exactly.
whether it's good
Which
or bad.
which means I don't think it ever should have been rolled out to
Mm,
this extent in this one. I think that
I
because
don't
it's
know.
caused so much stress. I think that it's done good things and I actually agree with a lot of it. But I think that it causes so much stress between people, and then we're trying to give feedback, but we're giving feedback on things that we can't really give good feedback on because it's not in the right place. So that's why I don't think it should have been rolled out, but pre actual progression patch, I feel like it should have just been all done in one fell swoop. But there are varying views on that one as well. Gasty did say, to clarify, we are not giving up on normalization. The plan is to normalize, but to normalize around more price points per tier to provide the strategic choices being described here. No more 2970 and 3060 Vim items. Those two would both
Right.
be 3000 still. So it sounds kind of like it's angling more towards what I proposed, which was a shot in the dark, honestly.
I-
Sort of maybe We don't know. They could be normalizing around every 100 Vim mark. We have no idea.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well,
exactly.
in general, I mean that's an obvious improvement. Making things cost 30.75 is just like
So
when
dumb.
I'm in my shop and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I've got a hunger's 460. Okay, I've got like
Yep.
1350. Like that's dumb. And the fact that like LoL and other games still do that is like, okay, 10 years ago called, they want your math. Like get out of here. Like round numbers.
Yeah. Everything can be a multiple of 100. Perfectly okay with that. That's not an issue. And I don't think normalization can't work. I never said that normalization can't work. I said it doesn't work in this game right now. But the real point that I kind of discovered through all of the arguing is not even about the cost of the item. The cost of the items, I think, are secondary to the real issue. That is, when you normalize a item tree like the game has, and every ending item ends at the same cost, then you have problems because you take away slot efficiency.
And that's the main point where we disagree.
Yeah, and that is where we disagree.
Well, I mean, like go back to Mars' original point off camera. Like, okay, obviously supremacy and well, maybe let's not even say supremacy. Let's just say wisdom. Like a percentage scaler is never going to be built ever early game because why would you? That item obviously has poor slot efficiency earlier on. It's the same thing with rage. Like nobody has armor. Why would you ever?
I mean,
have
it
rage?
will as a mistake.
Sure,
but
that's true. That's very true. So like, yeah, those items being 1500, like I will get more out of spending 1500 on a force than I will on a command generally because mastery is better than giving me 5 power or something. I mean, that's fairly clear. So yeah, maybe if those items were cheaper, I'd almost want them. Maybe I don't know. It's
right, but here's the thing: at the end of a game, you have 1 slot left, and I have 1 slot left. Right? We both have 150 power. There is never a time where you will decide to get supremacy over wisdom in that case. So that means that itemization actually becomes more stale if you do have item efficiency because there is always a strictly better and a strictly worse. So you will get people
that's
who
bullshit.
you'll get people who will find the numbers and go, this build is the build. For this playstyle, this build is the build. You want this. I understand that you're saying, like, oh, if you have 2 slots left, now you're going to want, now it's like, do I have 150 with 2 slots left? Yes, I do. So now I want this. Do I have 150 without do I not have 150 with 2 slots left? So now I don't want wisdom yet. So then there's a difference in order of buy. But at the end build, everybody can be even with normalization, and then it's based off of actual skill and decision making, and not just how much. You don't have access to more stats than I do.
That's like a criticism of almost the item system in general, right? Like rampancy is never good until you have 5 health items. Wisdom's never good until you have X power. So why bother giving you supremacy, which is just a large boost in power, and like mathematically you get more damage always out of i.e. destruction or other power items. Like there's certainly a couple items in Muzzy, in your argument about the efficiency that I would be perfectly okay with the game just removing. Like I don't particularly care about supremacy as an item because I never want it generally. Obviously there's certain builds that are yada yada yada, but like in general I don't want that item. Same thing with wisdom. I don't ever want to rush wisdom because like 10% or 15% of nothing is nothing. So that item is irrelevant to my purposes. It's always a late game item. I appreciate and understand that. I don't really care if those items are in the game though. So like that point to me is like
that. But that is
true,
my
but
point.
Sure.
If you get to 6 item build and you have the capability of having more stats than I do, then I made the wrong decision. So there is a strictly better and a strictly worse.
Right,
and so that
like
means
the 6 item 80 carry build, like you're gonna get to a point. Let's say you invest in an early game item because you're like, oh, I really want to stay in this game. Then you get to 6 items and you sell that item for the best possible build.
Right.
You're saying you don't want that. You want build diversity at 6 items.
Yes, exactly. Because if you and I at 6 items are at exactly the same stats, then it comes down to, are my decisions better than yours? Are my managing of my resources better than yours? If it's, oh, well, you made a better purchase, then I am a bad player because I didn't look at the math. And
Right, but there's
it
other
should,
things to factor too, right? There's certain
Okay.
champions that have a power spike earlier in the game, so them
They do.
taking a theoretically early game item is going to be better for them, right? Investing in something that's really good at the 15-minute mark.
But don't they
is
fall off
great.
late game if it doesn't pan out because their
Yeah, I
decisions
mean,
the
aren't
point.
as good?
That's
But that's-
exactly the point.
But
But-
that's what I'm saying.
I understand.
No,
what you're saying.
you have to have that. If
The-
you
the
don't
op-
have that,
The option of grabbing a wisdom at that early mid game is completely irrelevant because you can't get that.
If you have a level 10 spike and I have a level 10 and I don't have a level 10 spike, I don't spike till 14, and you get 100 power and I get 100 power, and we're pretty similarly based, right? You have to take advantage of that. I have access to that 100 power too. So in this case, all that you're balancing is not the power curve of items, but you're balancing only the power curve of shapers at that point, and when they spike and when they don't spike. And then team comps become more important than item composition. Item composition is generally going to be for the passives at 6 item anyway. Was my passive a good decision against your team and your team composition, and who's doing well on your team? That's where I'm coming from.
your argument is to remove items. That's what you're actually saying. No,
No,
you
it's
are.
not.
You were saying remove stats from items, just have some passives. That is what you're saying. Because
That's
what you're
not what I'm
saying
saying.
is, you're saying, I want the choices of items throughout the game to be at a point to where there really are no wrong choices, and there's just the preference of, I'm going to eventually get to my build, you're going to eventually get to your build. We're
Not
going
if
to
you
have
take advantage
basically
of
the
shaper
same
power
stats.
spikes. Not if you take advantage of shaper power spikes and play smart and play well.
And here's the
That's
thing.
where it comes down to skill rather than item.
And here's where you're wrong, okay? Because when you have items, when both people kind of naturally progress to the same conclusion, essentially, when you're both progressing to 3K items, whoever gets the first power spike wins the game because they get their advantage way
item
before
power
you.
spike or character power spike?
That's a good question.
A bit
That's
of both.
what I'm saying. You're trying to balance. This system is inherently even more complicated than it needs to be because you're trying to balance both item and character spikes instead of just character spikes.
Let me explain it to you. Okay. So here's how the game actually works. So
Enlighten me, Gassy. Oh wait,
let's take we'll take Petrus, right? Petrus hits level 4. He has level 2 Q, 1 W, 1 E. That's a pretty big power spike for Petrus. And it's still level 4. No one has any items. Everyone has their first items. So he hits his power spike at level 4. You're saying 80 carry. You don't hit your power spike until you have items. So you're fucked. You die.
I didn't say that.
I
can balance that. Oh, you're saying if it was
I'm
balanced
saying
that. Okay.
No, I'm saying this is how the game is right now. If you're
I ain't
Petrus
dying
and
to
you're
level
level
4
4,
Petrus. I'm telling you that much.
Regardless, if you're against level 4 Petrus as a level 4 AD carry, you are weaker than him. Straight up.
So you have
No
misplayed
question.
that. You have misplayed.
No, you haven't
didn't
misplayed
word
anything,
right, you didn't
because-
get in the right place.
No,
I agree
he's
with Mars
laning
on this, by
against
the
you.
way.
He
It's
is
just-
laning against you. It's not. You didn't. You're not
laning.
inherently-
Sorry, I'm thinking jungler.
Yeah.
My
No.
head.
Stop being a jungler.
Gladiator Petrus, Muzzy.
You're
Gladiator
laning
Petrus.
against a Glad Petrus. You're both level 4. You both have your starting item. Petrus is better than you at that moment. Not still involved. He is better than you because his power spike hits. And
Right.
if he can kill you at that level 4 point, if he kills you there, you lose the entire game. Because as soon as he kills you there, he hits his items before you hit yours. You have no ability to buy stat-efficient items that aren't as good late game. Like,
And
you can't
that's
buy
where-
those items. And
that's
that's
where-
where the system sucks.
That's where
It's
the
because you
intermediate-
can't
They're
buy...
called basic items.
That's where on my post where the intermediate items come in.
But no, that's not the... You don't get to just buy those items and magically everything's okay.
I
You're
didn't
still
say they would be.
behind.
You've earned that loss already. Yes,
No,
exactly.
and this is also where you're wrong. And I'll get back to that in a moment. the key is that if you buy the early game items that aren't as strong late game, you have an opportunity right there where you're equalized and you can take a good team fight and you can come back into the game and then you can progress towards late game items.
Okay.
If you don't do that, then you lose. Yes. You have that one moment, basically, where if you're behind and you have the ability to buy early game stat items that do well, you can pick a team fight and come back into the game. Everything's equalized again and everything's fine. If you don't do that, you're still behind. You're pretty much fine.
Time out. So you're saying if I get outplayed early game, I should be able to spend less Vim to have the exact same power as you, and then we both play perfectly, but I win the next team fight just because there's a mythical item system that makes that true, and like that's somehow a better system.
It's not. Well, one, it happened up to like 2 months ago.
It did.
Two,
you're right.
It's not that you're magically better. It's that you're roughly equivalent on spending less Vim, but you're sacrificing slot efficiency for it, and you're sacrificing Vim in the long term. You ultimately have to sell that item.
The
early game,
you get less Vim from that item when you sell it,
and it hurts you for it. Yes, and that is the point. That's
so
what
you're getting hurt
it.
Twice.
Well, no, you're not. You're
good.
getting an early game advantage to sacrifice somewhat of a late game advantage. You have to sell some of your late game advantage in order to build into the proper slot efficient items, which then puts you at a disadvantage in Vim later on in the game. And the reason you're at a disadvantage in Vim later on in the game is because you bought that item that puts you at an advantage, relatively speaking, in the early game. It's a trade-off. You get a better early game item, and you get a weaker late game because you have to sell that item to get a better item. That is where the balance comes in. Without that balance...
means what you're telling me is that once you get to that item that you had to buy for less Vim to try to make up for your losing state to try to come back, you will never, and probably should never, because it's not slot efficient, you should never carry that all the way to the third tier item. So that means that item shouldn't even be in the game.
No, that's not true.
But that's what it sounds like. You're saying you're gonna sell that. You're buying it early. You're giving up late game efficiency.
You're going to sell it eventually.
Tell me what that item looks like. Tell me what an item looks like that is better in the mid game but is useless late game.
Sure.
Give me the stats.
One of those items was very easily Vigor for a while. Vigor served as that purpose for a long time. And if you weren't in the situation to get prosperity, you sat on Vigor until you sold it. That's what happened for the longest time, and it worked well. It ended up being it worked so well that everyone bought it, and everyone sacrificed some of that overall Vim efficiency. They sacrificed some of their total earned Vim to sell that item later because of how good it was. And that's fine with me. But Vigor was one of those items. Integrity is one of those items.
What did they sell Vigor for? When they were done with Vigor? When do you?
Well, it depends on who they are, right? I mean, if you're like an Amaranth or something, you probably bought more power or something like that. If you were a tank but you didn't get in a position to sell prosperity enough to matter, you ended up like selling it for another like resist item. It varied a lot based on who you were.
So you would never go, if you got the Vigor, you would never go up really into the third tier item.
No.
Well, you would if you wanted prosperity.
So you're asking for items to stop at the secondary tier.
That's what I said at the start.
That's what I'm saying. So you want some items that don't go all the way to third tier.
What stops the team that's winning from building Vigor and just being better than you?
They can do that, but this is where then you sacrifice that to hold out for the late game. The counter to early game items and the detriment to both the good and bad part of early game items is late game items. If they buy early game items and you stall out long enough to where you buy nothing but late game items, you will come out ahead ultimately because they've bought early game items that aren't as efficient. They're wasting a bunch of Vim essentially versus the Vim that you're spending, and you ultimately come out ahead if you can stall.
Huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Hi.
Anything else, Muzzy, or is there more things I have to tell you you're wrong about?
I mean, you can tell me all you want. It doesn't make it true, right?
I know. I don't care.
I think the design of items that you only buy in order to sell later is pretty bad.
Because it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to do that.
Stop, Muzzy. I'm trying to be neutral, and I went on the attack for too long. went on the attack for too long. I do obviously think there is a problem with snowballing. If somebody has 1500 Vim, they have a massive power spike. You have 1200 Vim, you have two basic items. It's shit. I mean, like
Sucks.
there's no denying that. And I would be happy with them adding a new price point of items that do scale into less slot efficiency late game. I don't think you would need to sell those, and I think a good fit for those items would be items that complement maybe your best items. Like for now, here's my example. When I play an AD carry, my go-to item is dominance, right? My secondary item, let's just say in a hypothetical situation, is resonance. Right now, dominance, if the progression update was live, dominance and resonance would be the same price. But to me, dominance is just a better item. If resonance was cheaper and was like a less slot efficient item, if the guy I'm laning against could get dominance, or sorry, force early, and I had access to like a 1200 Vim chaos, on my back I could get chaos and build into my resonance while he's building towards his dominance and get a power spike. I can completely respect that, and I feel like it kind of hits Mars's thing of like, let's say resonance is in theory a really good item for my character at that point of the game. Like that's my go-to item. I really want that item. Like if they can hit both those nails on the head where it's an item I actually want in my 6 item build, I can certainly appreciate the benefits of that, but I don't want it to be an item that you sell. I don't like that. It seems like you're just renting an item, and
Well, yeah.
I feel like basic items, potentially better basic items, or maybe a lifesteal. I mean, obviously, Desire was a big one too, right? That 1000 Vim Desire, was it 1060 or whatever the upgrade used to be so easy. Now it's 1500. Losing out on that power spike sucks. So maybe if Veracity was actually the cheaper item and you could build towards that and still get the stats you need, that's fine. I just don't think it should be more powerful than the guy who outplayed you and got the first blood and got that 300 Vim. I somewhere in the middle would be my preference, but I respect what both you guys are saying because obviously it's opinionated, and I love the progression system now. So like tend to lean towards defending it because I hated the old system. But there's definitely certain items like Mortal Strike, for example. That's like an effect you really want. Pain's pretty cheap right now. It would really suck if Pain became 3000 Vim. If it's 3000 Vim right now, I apologize for being an idiot, but I was pretty sure it's cheaper. Like
It's still cheaper.
accessing utility based or items for cheaper in the new system would certainly, I would be more than okay with that. I definitely don't want to see you getting like more stats than the guy. Like let's say for example, there's a Desire that's 300 gold cheaper than the current Desire, and like gives more stats but builds into shit. Like I don't particularly like that design. Like I still want to be able to build into cool items, and sure maybe I sell it at 6 items, but like selling an item to buy another one feels weird to me.
See,
25.
and that's where I just completely disagree. Like, I'm perfectly happy selling. Like, to me, when you sell an item, you bought an item and then you used it, you got your use out of it, and then there's no more use for it, so you sell it. Like, I don't have any issue with that. You buy an item for its purpose. Just because the purpose of most of the items now is late game doesn't mean that all items have to be that way. Like, no one really has issues selling Doran's Blade, right? Like that's
Right, but
not
you
a
have to look at
concern.
you have to look at the design philosophy that Dawngate has obviously presented. First of all, they don't want to do Thorn stuff. Gasti has stated that. Why? Because it feels bad. You don't want to do some other things. Why? Because it feels bad. That's almost always like how he goes about explaining. Oh, that doesn't feel good for a player. And so to buy something and not get 100% back feels bad. To buy something and sell it and trade it for something else, okay, that might actually feel a little bit better if it were 1-to-1. But currently, I don't like the idea of having to sell something. I've had to sell basic items before and been like, ugh, well, shit, there goes like,
Right.
100 Vim,
Well,
and that doesn't
personally,
feel good.
I think basic items should be better than they are now to do that. Like the idea of renting an item or spending money on an item that's better now, I get that. Like everybody I hope understands power spikes and why you'd want to build towards a power spike. I just think that basic Waystone's design philosophy is that you're supposed to go for basic and advanced items for this power spikes. That's why a lot of them gain no stats when you upgrade to legendary. I think there's a way they could probably achieve both goals by changing some of the items. Like, um, I don't know. It's hard to tell because most items in the game do give the base stats you want. But like, if an advanced item did give a pretty strong amount of stats for 300 Vim cheaper, but built into auxiliary items that you only wanted to buy third, fourth, fifth, like that wisdom we talked about. What if wisdom actually gave a little more power at the advanced level to make it a viable, command gave more power at the advanced level to make it a more viable early pick? Yeah, I don't know, maybe, but.
I've always been a fan of the whole thing that you guys are talking about, where like you buy something because it feels better at this point. I've always liked that, but I think that my argument comes from if you had normalization, that would no longer work. And your argument is that we don't want normalization because that would no longer work. So we're essentially saying the same thing. We know that it will not work in that system. It will not work well, maybe I should say. But I want to go there, and you don't want to go there, and that's the biggest difference.
What I want to see on paper is what those advanced and then upgraded to legendary items look like that would save the system, because the only thing I can think of right now is like the items, the second ones you buy, like the commands or inspirations, the clarities, like make them a little cheaper and heavy on stats. Ish, but I'd like to see theory crafting on what those items should look like.
Well, command was great before it got nerfed and normalized, aka nerfed. It went up like 400 Vim for basically nothing.
It did.
And before that, commands were great. Commands worked well, especially on things like dibs that activated all the time and have insane power ratios. Please waste that. But
you don't have to worry about that now. It changed.
No,
they heard you.
Power ratios.
Oh, okay.
That's not the topic, but dibs power ratios.
Right.
But the other thing I was going to say is that I understand that you guys don't like the idea of selling an item because you feel like you got less worth out of it. But if you're properly, if you're utilizing the stats that it gives you or the passive that it gives you, whatever it is that you buy, if you're utilizing that item well, and you get kills, you get good team fights, you take objectives with that item, you got its worth out.
But if you don't, I think then you're even further behind.
And that is a risk you take. And
but that's not a risk you take. That's a risk that you have to take in your system. That's the big issue.
It's a risk you take. It's a risk you have to take if you're behind. It's a risk you take if you're neutral or but buying early game items isn't only for when you're behind. Like you can buy early game items at any point. And buying early game items is on the risk that you have to make use of them. It's just like taking para essentially. You have to make use of it. If you don't,
para, that's a thing.
Good.
I can talk about.
Segue.
There we go. Segue. Hey yo, segue dance. Segue dance. All right. Oh, good. So I don't know. I've been in a coma for the past 15, 20 minutes. I really don't know what's going on. I hope everybody worked things out, and we're all hearts and minds are clear. So the next thing I want to talk about is another one of the one of the issues we brought up, touched upon briefly a couple weeks ago, but now I would like to kind of get into the thick meatiness of Parasite. Here is the current problem with Parasite that is pretty much the general consensus. Basically, there really is no good sub-15-minute team-based objective besides bindings right now. It's not super worth it for your team to group together in a group of 3 or more and go do something other than gank another lane, roam, or do a binding dive. In the beginning iterations of Dawngate, in the early weeks, I had some of the most fun team fights where those early fights around Parasite, rush level 6. As soon as you have more guys than they do at level 6, force a fight at Parasite and kind of have this early, nice, fun objective that felt really meaningful. Now you don't want to do Parasite pre-15 minutes because ever since they've put Striders attached to Parasite, that all kind of changed. Now you really don't want to do Parasite sub 15 minutes because if the other team plays it properly, they'll just hang back and farm up on the Striders and catch up any moderate lead you would have gotten from the early Parasite, which I think is like only about 100 and some odd number of gold for each person. So Vim. So it's really not. I mean, am I on the right path with this? Everyone agrees like the early Parasite is pretty garbage trash.
It's garbage trash.
We're all in agreement there.
Disagree.
There's one situation where taking Parasite is good.
Okay.
And what taking Parasite does pre-15 minutes is that you're effectively trading Vim between your supports and their carries. And that's a weird system, and that's a weird thing that people don't really like comprehend about Para, is that everyone on your team gets gold, right? But when you're farming Striders, you're farming minions,
they get
only their carries. Fuck you, Muzzy. Only their carries get the Vim. Like the tacticians just get the normal, like, Vim that doesn't really matter. It's the passive ambient Vim of something dying isn't a big deal. So you're making that trade, and you
froze.
What?
Stop your camera. You froze.
Oh, rip. Wow, I didn't freeze on mine.
Good. You look good. I don't know.
It's a good freeze.
It was a good freeze. Right. It wasn't like a.
Well, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, so yeah, that's the one situation where you getting Vim on your supports is better than their carries getting Vim. Other than that, it sucks, and Striders on Para always suck. That's all.
I kind of agree a little bit on that. I don't really know what the kind of solution is to early Para. I kind of like the idea of it being more akin to Dragon at the early stages, where it's just kind of money and no Striders are involved. Like, what's the point of a tiered system of Striders anyway? Like, don't you always just want the super buff awesome Striders? Why do you have these like weak little like Striders with boxing gloves on? Like, what's the point of them? I understand. Like,
what if it did something cool? Like when you take Para pre-15, you actually reduce the unlock time for the enemy wells. Like what if
taking rank 1 Para immediately unlocks all the spirit wells?
Well, no, rank 1 you can get it at 5 minutes if you really wanted to.
Boom.
No,
but it's got to be.
Honestly,
it's got to be all wells because
John said unlocks all
wells.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that.
I was saying like if you get a pre-15, it lowers your enemy wells by 5 minutes, so it'll unlock it 10 minutes.
But the snowball
aspect. Of course,
if you know what I mean, you get a lucky power early on, and it's like crap. Now our wells are screwed. Like,
no, you're right.
You know what I mean? Like it can be an aggressive kind of strategy if it unlocks all wells because that gives someone else a comeback mechanic. Or if your team is just more coordinated, you're gonna snowball further because you'll be able to, take advantage of that situation.
The only danger is that the idea that Gasty has talked about before is the fact that Spirit Wells control Vim.
Mm-hmm.
Parasite doesn't control Vim. It controls pushing, and sure,
right.
Vim can lead to items that can lead to pushing, etc., but like everything must be, it does because you get Team Vim and stuff, but I'm saying like it's a very separate, goal, and it doesn't necessarily, he doesn't like tying, he said he didn't ever really want to tie them all together, although I will say taking Para definitely takes bindings down, which opens up wells and stuff like that.
That's the idea behind Baron in League of Legends. You take it in order to push the win. You take it in order to get the regen, in order to push turrets. They've tried to take that in a slightly different direction in Doggy, where it gives you the pushing power. I'm just gonna take a moment and shit talk everybody, because I think most people that play MOBAs are kind of sheepy in their gameplay. So when you're in a game, they'll be like, don't take Para. Why? Because someone else told you not to take Para. There's plenty of people that can take advantage of para, and there's plenty of games where taking advantage of the level 1 para is fine. You push down early turrets is great. But I think more often than not, people don't want to leave the laning phase that early, and like it makes people uncomfortable. And obviously, with no objectives to take, it's less likely that you're going to be able to take advantage of that. And that's why I think I'm perfectly fine with them just being like rank 1 para Vim only, because people in general would like that better. It's just a bit of Vim. It's good. Our team did something. It was great. Nothing bad happened. I don't have to immediately switch into push mode. I can still go back to lane and dumpster my opponents. Like, in general, I think removing the Striders from rank 1 is just going to make the game experience better. If somebody tells you that it's always bad to take Parasite at rank 1, they're an idiot, because there's no such thing as always in MOBAs. But I will certainly agree that more often than not, you don't get the advantage you want, and getting rid of the Striders makes the game better at rank 1. So I feel like they should do it.
So Gassy said, actually, Dark Matter Gun said, stage 1, more money. He's suggesting something. Stage 2, money plus buff. Stage 3, money, buff, and Striders as well. So you don't get Striders till stage 3. And Gassy said, that is what we're testing internally at the moment, actually. So I just wanted to shout that out there.
That's
just
interesting.
Because it's an interesting idea. Each stage actually is different, as opposed to first stage,
thing.
second and third being similar. You know, same rewards.
I didn't think about that. Like,
yeah,
that was
kind of an interesting idea.
When I was in the shower earlier, I was thinking about this because I wanted to not look like a total idiot on the stream tonight. And I'm thinking, okay, rank 1 Vim only, rank 2 buff and Striders, rank 3 buff and Striders. Wait a second, that doesn't add up. That's almost as dumb as Volek having extra auto attack range for no reason. Okay, what's going on here? How do I put this like in my thought process? And that's a really obvious change. You feel like I should have seen it. So
it was right there
sense.
in front of you.
Well, the other thing, stage 1 offering more money is a good point too, because right now it's what, 200 something, which is like a couple creep waves. Like, if you lose those couple of creep waves just because you went back to shop after para, you've already lost half your bonus. So I can appreciate it giving more Vim at rank 1 as well.
Oh man, cuteness alert.
Oh.
What's the kitty's name, Mars?
It's Baby Cat. It's in spirit.
Baby
Baby
cat.
Cat in spirit.
It's a baby cat.
The name's Minnie.
Minnie?
Mini
Yeah,
Cat. Sorry, I was
Mini
close.
Anyway, I apologize for the harsh way that I
No, it's
conveyed
true,
myself
though.
there.
You tell him, John.
It's actually pretty
just-
true.
The thing I hate more than anything is absolutes. Like, this always happens.
Always.
This never happens. Oh, it grinds my gears, because it doesn't.
You're right, though. I think that's a very good observation you said. Just there is no always in MOBAs. There is no always.
Caveat: I do think most people are right. Like, more often than not, Parasite doesn't react or result. Rank 1 Para
It's never good to just live in a world of absolutes, though.
Often. Yeah.
Only
it's a
Sith
kitty.
deal in absolutes.
Right.
And a tangent to para. Okay, so everyone remember back when they changed the well timers from 10 minutes to 15 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because the argument was that bindings go down at around 10 minutes and you get a free well. Why then did stage 2 para become 15 minutes when wells unlocked at 15 minutes?
So now you have to choose.
Circumstance.
No,
I think
because it does exactly the same thing. If
Right,
you
but
take the para, you then get 2 free wells because they
Right,
can't
but-
fight you.
But if they're getting para and you know you can't contest it, then you can pick up a well.
No, you can't.
One though.
No, you can't. If
Okay,
you don't
you're
have
right.
a global, no, you can't.
You're right. You can't. This is an absolute.
No,
world,
it's
I
too
forgot.
far away. You're at
completely.
your bindings.
You're right. It's too
No,
far.
I'm sorry. Like the
the
situations
map
where
map
you
is
can
not
take
too
that.
big at all.
Well,
The situations where you can take their well in response to them doing para are very small. You very rarely do it, and you basically have to be dibs. To
I
do it well.
suppose you're right in competitive play. In solo queue,
Well,
it works really
I-
well.
And in solo queue, frankly,
Who cares,
yeah.
right? Who
Well,
cares
I
about solo
don't.
queue?
I
Yeah.
personally don't.
Right. Well, I care about the majority of the community who is in solo queue, and
The thing is the majority of the community actually then cares about competitive play. And
they
emulates
do. Isn't that
competitive
weird?
play.
That's
So
what I was
then-
telling you. Which came first, chicken or the egg? The
But that's
competitive play
also
or the-
why I
the
have to
community?
care about it. Like
Of
I have to
course.
care about primarily competitive play because the community will then emulate it, and the
Right.
community will then care.
Yeah.
Well, the map design, like I like to bring up League of Legends because it's a more mature game. If you see a team go to gank top in professional League of Legends, immediately there's a dragon taken. If you see a team now go for Baron and they can't contest, they take a dragon because it's worth lots of Vim. You can't just go down to the bottom Spirit Well when your team's taking Para because like if the timing's even a smidgen off, you're gonna all die. It takes too long and it's too far
You just
away. Right?
How
Like
long does it take, John?
imagine the money pigs is where imagine the money pigs gave you Dragon Vim, but there's only one of them, and Parasite was at the top of the map. If people went to Para, you could go take the money pigs as a secondary objective. You can't reliably do that.
Here's a question though. At
Sure.
stage 2, the Parasite's going to go down slower than it is at stage
It doesn't.
3.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
What?
Really?
Para
Oh,
goes
I've-
down the same speed, if not faster, later in the game.
Well, that's what I'm
There's-
saying. It goes down faster.
seems to have a
later
bit of
in the
a-
game. It goes
a
down
wiggle,
slower
right?
in the middle of the game.
If
That's
you
what
go
I
for
No,
five,
it,
rank one
you
Para
don't
dies.
you don't decrease speed in which you take para, because at every stage of para you just bring more people and you have more damage. You take it stronger, you take it faster every time. Para
So-
continually gets faster to take
Can-
as the game goes along.
Can you kill Parasite in 10 seconds?
Less than 10 seconds, assuming you have a
Really?
remotely
Oh, wow.
strong team for the time. Yeah.
Wow,
mean,
okay.
If you have
Never.
ruin on an AD carry, you can take it very quickly.
Right.
Both Parasite and Wells aren't measured in capture and kill time. There's setup, there's warding.
Yeah,
There's
there's
setup.
also
You're right.
there's travel time, and then there's the fact that Parasite's centralized and Wells are on the extremities, so
That's-
you're inherently getting to Parasite faster than you're getting to Wells. So you need Parasite to die
To an
in
extent.
way more time than it takes to cap for you to be able to do it safely.
You have to know that the enemy's about to do para and already be at least
Yeah.
a half map to go over to Wells.
Like you
And-
have
Right,
to be
right.
near
So-
the well
so
when
use-
you know
so
they're
use
going.
wells. So use wards on para, so you can know when they're there. Is what you're
Yeah, I
saying.
mean it's true, but I mean if the
Well, you
enemy's
always
in a
have wards.
position, if the enemy's in a position to take para more or less uncontested because you've lost two people, yeah, maybe it's your best move to immediately be like, maybe I can't take para, maybe I should go sneak that well real quick. But that's not what dealing an absolute. That's like 0.25 of an absolute, whereas like in say LoL for example, if you know you can't go to Baron, that dragon is like a 0.75 of an absolute. You could always go and take that dragon as a secondary objective, and that's
Right.
actually reducing a lot of snowball in the LoL competitive scene because instead of being a 2k gold swing when you get Baron, because 1k to the team that gets it and 1k lost, it's the 1k that you didn't get on your side. Now
Yeah.
both teams get 1k and their team gets the buff, so like you're behind temporarily because of the buff, but you didn't go way down in Vim, and that certainly only exists in Dawngate through the killing of Striders. So, yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting design, but I disagree. I don't think you can just take Spirit Wells for free at 15
No, definitely
minutes.
not for free. Definitely not for free. There's setup, like you said, and there's
And you can't
definitely-
even do it
there's-
reactively.
There's definitely, you got to be prepared to do it. You have to tell your team, like, hey, if there's taking para and we
You have to
cannot
be
stop
prepared.
them, we have
That's
to be
100%
running down it. And, I've done it by myself plenty of times, too, without anybody. And they do come down, and there are well-visioned jukes, and you can get out. So I'm saying it's possible. You can do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, just to
Try
go back,
it. Try it more often, maybe. Maybe if you try it
is
more
something you
often
should do more often.
and you perfect it, then maybe it will become more of an absolute that you can closer to the absolute that you can reactively do it, that you can set up for it, knowing where your team is, knowing whether or not you can contest, whether or not they're at para, whether or not they're setting up for para, stuff like that. I think that maybe it's just not practiced enough.
I mean, that's 100% true, but it's not a reactive thing. You can't see them at para and go to the well. Your feet going there and thinking about that in ahead of time.
You
And
can't
if
be
the
doing
meta-
fish camps.
Right. If the meta progresses there, and I mean, we're talking about trickle down. If let's say we have spectator mode next patch, and we're casting the $100,000 Dawngate inaugural tournament, and you watch the professional teams do it, I guarantee solo queue will start doing it. Like it does take the streamers
Trickle
and
down.
people,
Yeah.
because otherwise, like I mean, like who tells people to pull the jungle at level 1, right? Now it's because you played LoL and they do it or did it, but
Are you
like
kidding me? Half
four
the
years-
time I play.
4 years ago, it was because the
Yeah,
pros
no
did it.
one leashed 4 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's obviously why we need a competitive scene to show people how to do. I mean, I'm just gonna say basic stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
basic macro.
Well, things that end up
play.
becoming basic because
Exactly.
you see them done so often, like pulling.
Right. Yeah, I mean
Deep
that has to
certain
become a play,
wards
though.
too. Same thing, ward positioning and stuff like that.
Oh
Yeah.
my god. Oh, the brush ward when you're already pushed. Oh, that's my newest pet peeve because I love the brush ward if you're getting pushed on. It's great. It gives you a little bit of breathing room because you're getting shittered on. You're playing Gladiator Kindred. You're not going anywhere. You're under the tower. Put a fucking ward there. I fucking hate when people. I'm like pushing to their turret, and the guy, my tactician, that's standing in the bush is like, "I need a bush buddy. Come on, ward. Pop out of the
I need a
ground.
bush buddy."
Straight from Gamescom. Oh man, join me in this brush because it's a fantastic brush. Fuck that. Sorry.
All right. I want to kind of wrap things up here. I want to give away some Nisa skin codes. I also have the Gamescom Ward skin codes. If you guys missed out on that, I can give some of those away too if you want. Other than that, we can go and do Q&A with the chat bozos, so fire away. If you have any other fun things like John warding the with the lane bush warding. No, but I mean, it's a good point you bring up. But if anyone has any other like kind of random thoughts like that they want to bring up, feel free to do so now.
Okay, seriously though, when you ward in the very edge of a bush, fix that shit, Waystone.
Yeah, that
I'm
is annoying.
tired of edge wards doing nothing. Not only do they not show you inside or outside, they literally don't work. There's like a
Really?
third zone. There's a third zone in between bush and not bush that is
I've
nothing.
never seen that.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
If
It's
you put a ward
existed
there,
so far.
it doesn't work. You
I'm
get
gonna go
no
try
vision.
that. I want to try that.
Mr. Catarix, how would
It
you
is
feel
the
if
fucking
ward-
worst.
How would you feel if ward snapped to the brush to make it easier for the user?
Honestly, if you put a ward on the preface this by if they can't fix that dead zone, I would rather them snap it in 2 pixels and put it in the bush.
Yeah, like we're talking.
I'd rather
like
them just
10
fix the
idiots.
zone. Like it's literally like a 1 or 2 pixel zone. It's tiny, but it happens all the time.
I don't know if this game actually does it, but LoL does it where they change the cursor if it's going in the brush, which is a nice quality of life change. But like if they could detect that there's a brush 10 like in-game units, we're talking like less than 10% of melee auto attack range. Like I would be like, okay, yeah, it goes in the brush because that's a shitty feeling, especially when it's a
Like
button.
a tap-in in golf.
Yeah,
Like a little, boop, little just knock it in the hole.
Nothing happened.
like lean on the pool table, it just
Yeah.
falls right in.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good quality of life change. We need quality of life changes. There's too much shit that's been broken for so long.
Oh, yeah.
Like, or not
Yeah,
broken,
but
just missing.
The argument is always like, do you want features or do you want quality of life changes?
Honest to
But
God.
You know what? That's a real thing, though. You know,
It's true.
Waystone's a small team. Consider like when they, you know, if you take one guy off to start working on bots, then well, that one guy's not working on whatever he was working on before that. So like, you know, features and quality of life stuff. It is. I mean, that's something you know. I'm sure they're always struggling with. But you know, when just as far as like general, so people know in the community, like you know, it's not like they don't care about certain things,
Yeah.
but it's just it's a matter of resources. It's still a very small team. It's not Riot with 1,500
It's true.
employees.
I would
Over
just say on
2K.
the prioritization, like one of Dawngate's main aspects is that you can buy a spell at rank 1, 10, and 20. Being able to rearrange those because you're
Gassy
purchasing
said
it
earlier that it's
every
coming
game.
in like the next
I
patch or the
I
one
know,
after.
I know it's coming,
That'd be
but
so
that's like
nice.
that should be like priority 1 quality of life. I mean, obviously ward nudging middle of the list. Same thing with buyback. I want buyback, but I mispurchase once in 200 games. So like I can understand why that's not a big deal, but like
Right, but
I
it's also
switch my spell
brutal
order.
when you do it, right?
It is brutal.
It's
It is
like,
brutal.
no!
Right,
Or
and
the
that's why I
worst- the
think-
I
worst is
only
when
do
the
it on
beginning of the
stream
match-
too. If I play
Yeah.
by myself, I'll
Yeah.
never do it.
It's worse because like right in the beginning of the match, it starts lagging, and you buy, you like think you buy
Oh.
your resilience, and then you buy a bunch of pots, and you're
And
like,
I bought 5
I
pots.
can't buy my
I
resilience.
bought 5 pots.
All pots. yeah.
That's actually an interesting thing. Someone in chat saying Moneypigs an evolving objective as well.
Money
maybe.
pigs feel like worthless, so I'm okay
They-
with. I mean, that's something that like only junglers care about. So
Well, and you only get them like honestly, you get them like twice.
yeah,
And then-
really, Muzzy. In a game, like if you're doing, like I get mad when I see my jungler doing money pigs, and I'm like,
You wanna know
dude,
who
you could
gets-
be ganking this lane and getting like Kill
You,
pigs.
you know how you get 2 levels ahead as the jungler, so your Vanquish deals more damage? Do Moneypigs.
Oh, fuck Vanquish. Every time a jungler who's got 1 level down that gets outsmited and says, "Oh, it was that 40 true damage," fuck you.
And I'm gonna be a scumbag right here, Muzzy. Oh, but if we just wait like 3-4 months, Vanquish won't be in the game, so it won't be a problem.
Hey, that's not scumbagging me, because I feel the same way. I cannot wait, though. I cannot wait.
That's actually Doomy Doom in chat. 13 health push in Mordekaiser. That's a prime example of what Marty talked about earlier. Okay, I'm buying this regen now, which gives me nothing later on. I mean, maybe consumables is the way to go. Like, maybe flasks could augment that stuff. Maybe flasks could last longer. Maybe I don't know.
If you made consumables not terrible, maybe. But right now they're pretty terrible. Like, there's no reason to buy them until you have nothing left. Just they're awful.
Yeah. I wish Flask of Foresight gave
Foresight's good.
Well, I wish it gave an indicator when you were walking through a ward, so it'd actually be a valid early game pickup for the jungler to figure out how to gank. That'd be nice.
It's valuable early game, but not if you just sit in the lane like a potato.
Right.
If you're roaming around a bit,
roamer only, right? But like,
yeah.
The biggest problem I find in this game with the vision system is I don't know where wards are, and I don't know when I'm walking through them, and there's really no way for me to know when I'm walking through them unless I already had vision of that area, which makes it roaming dangerous. Whereas, like, if I could buy a little bit of money, example, just like you're talking about earlier, if Flask of Foresight gave me vision of wards, I could spend a bit of money to secure my next gank better and maybe help me get back in the game. I don't know, it's a thought.
No ability to remove the ward, just something that's like, hey, there's a ward here. Yeah, I would be cool with that. I don't want ward removal as a mechanic in this game. It's awful.
Well, the League of Legends system, they fucking kind of nailed it. I hate to say it, but
don't care. You have invoked League of Legends
says.
enough times tonight, John.
League of Legends is a more mature game.
No, I get it. I know I'm busting your balls, but I don't like vision denial. It's in my mind, it's like creep denial. Like, it's one of those stupid Dota things that can stay over there in their stupid Dota world where everything's confusing and doesn't make sense, and you get to use your spell one time.
Donkey gives you 5 wards, which is not enough to litter the map. So, but like not knowing where the map is not littered is tough. I mean, there's skill in keeping that warded and seeing their wards go down. I get that, but like, I don't know.
I don't understand Decade's question. If someone else wants to take that one.
I mean, I'm trying, but chat is moving. It's hard. Okay.
Dude, I'm gonna probably offend some people, but Tulsa's not God, man. I'm telling you that Prosperity Ash.
How dare you?
One of the worst
How
things
dare
I've
you?
ever seen in this game. But that's just me. I mean, there are certain things that he's done
confirmed
that
on
have been
stream. MOBA
incredibly
champion
smart.
and Tulsa.
I'm not. No, because
Hate
he's
each other.
pioneered some incredibly smart things. Don't get me wrong, but like, don't flock to him. Just like don't flock to any designer on Wasteland staff because they make mistakes too. And like Tulsa's made a lot of incredibly insightful things, but he makes mistakes too. Nobody is perfect.
I've never seen him make a mistake. Schrodinger's cat.
What Tulsa does with early tank items is he's abusing the fact that risk is highly disincentivized in this game. You have no incentive whatsoever to go the risky damage build when you can go the tanky build. Doesn't matter how you position, doesn't matter what you do. You can be tanky, you do enough damage, you still win, and you never have to build a bunch of damage. And that's what he's abusing. He's been abusing it for months. I've been abusing it for months. I build tank Viridian.
I build tank Kindra. I build Rampancy on Kindra. I appreciate.
Well, you're awful.
Rampancy gives 80 power late game. That's a
I
lot
know.
of.
It's almost useful. I know. I hate
it. We won't talk about it because it's more of a joke. But I perfectly agree with the statement of build tanky, build safe, lose less, and by losing less you win more. I perfectly understand that, but like I don't know. Like when you're behind and you have no damage, like I almost feel like the game is over. Like when you can't kill anybody and you just have a tank mage on your team that's not King of Magic, I'm like,
I think that is just a common kind of thing people screw up. Like, you know, like that's just something that, like, I don't know where that got confused, but someone once like had like a line. It's like, you don't build tanky when you're behind, you build tanky when you're ahead. I don't know if it's again always is a funny thing in these games, but generally it is kind of I agree with that sentiment where you don't really build tanky when you're behind. You want to build tanky when you're ahead.
You have to take the risk when you're behind. That's the point.
You rely on picks too, right? If you 5v5, you lose.
Yeah, you've already screwed up, so you're trying to come back. Like you can't continue doing what you were doing because what you were doing was losing the game prior to this. So you got to change it up somewhere.
In an ideal world, everyone's the exact same skill though, so nobody's getting fed. So your tanky build is going to result in more like branching situations throughout the game where you don't get killed, which I definitely appreciate it. I just hate it on certain shapers. Like, if you want to play that way, play somebody that has pick utility to give me those kills. Like King of Maz is a perfect example, right? Duress into root into fear into ultimate. That's like 5.5, 10, 15, 30 crowd control effects back to back. Ashbel's just got one.
30 CCs.
Mm-hmm.
Ashbel, technically, all of her abilities, aren't they all crowd control?
We're not going to get into slows. Although Sakari...
Slows don't count as crowd control.
If we go full circle, I can certainly appreciate Sakari stacking slow as a tank, and I can appreciate it. It's not as bad as Ashbel. Pardon?
Yeah. No, tanky Ashbel... Okay, you only build tanky Ashbel when you're getting focused to all hell. That's when you build tanky Ashbel, because they're wasting so much on you. You do have the knockback. You can dick around. You slow them for a while. You do some damage, and you can sustain damage throughout a fight. But if you're not getting focused, you're pretty much useless.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
That's how it goes down.
Okay.
August is another example of someone that I'm like, if you're gonna build a burst mage and do 0 damage,
tanky's August. Like, just kill yourself now.
I question.
I tried it. It doesn't work.
It does not work. Don't do it.
I tried it.
Although I guess what Terra King says in chat, I mean, if you're playing against an early game reset-y type comp, that's why it's so hard to say always, because building a tank item first against a Kindra or an early game comp makes sense, doesn't it? In theory, maybe.
There's like questions, and they're like, yeah.
I mean, I don't understand why is snowballing becoming a dirty word? Like, isn't the object like to win and then continue winning?
Is a dirty word.
Okay. But I mean,
like
snowballing. Like, this is like a MOBA word that came up, but it's basically momentum. Yeah. You know, if you're talking about a real sport, you're talking about momentum. In a football game, if you get up 4 touchdowns in the beginning, there's still a comeback mechanic, but it's like I don't.
That's not the same thing at all. It's like every touchdown you take a shot of steroids. That's what this is.
That's how it differs in MOBAs. Is you actually are stronger because you have more damage, you have more resistances.
I mean,
but the game still has to end, right? You know, a team still has to win. So if I'm playing well, shouldn't my chance of winning continue to increase as the game goes on?
It shouldn't feel like that from 4 minutes in.
I can explain this to you. I can explain this. All right, everyone is going to have their different view of exactly when the threshold hits of when you have to stop making mistakes. But pretty much most people feel that one mistake in the early game shouldn't lose you the game. They don't.
You don't think that's overreacting a little bit?
No, I completely agree with them. Most people, myself included, don't actually want a 100% fair game.
Yeah.
Because a 100% fair game isn't fun. A fun game is not 100% fair. There should be some amount of comebacks. Even if you got ahead early, they shouldn't be completely out of it. You should have to keep doing well more than once in order to win the game. How it is when it's perfectly fair and perfectly snowbally is you win once and you play mediocre the rest of the time. That's all you got to do. When it's fun, though, you have to play well more than once. And that's what most people want.
Yeah, I mean, like, it all comes down to when do you want the game to end. Because if you want the game to end at 20 minutes, it has to be really snowbally. If you want the game to end at 35 minutes, it has to be moderately snowbally. If you want every game of the average game length of Dongate to be 45 minutes plus, it needs to have little to no snowball. And that's why you have, again, League of Legends making weird rules where like the first towers have weird armor scaling for the first 8 minutes, and first blood is worth
Well,
nothing for the first 5 minutes. And that's the shittiest design I've ever fucking seen
there's an
about finding a way to make it work in their ecosystem.
there's an element of game design that I think is really important, and it's replayability, right? So how do you make sure that there's replayability? One way that you can do it, retention and replayability, one way you can do it is make sure that the game ends before the players think that it should end. And that's why snowballing can be a really good thing, because it means, oh, damn, the game ended? Like, all right, well, I'm not done playing yet. I want to play more. So then you get back in. And any business, obviously, especially a living game like a MOBA, is going to want somebody to feel that way. Like, for example, if Magic the Gathering games lasted 20 minutes apiece, you'd never play more than maybe 2 games a day, and like you just wouldn't get into it. But if they take 5 minutes like Hearthstone does, then it's like, hey, it's over. Well, I could play another one, and so that's a really important thing, and that's why I think snowballing is good, and that's why it shouldn't be a dirty word. But the thing is, you have to be careful with how fast the snowball happens, because then you're in the game and you are thinking the thing that you don't want players to think, which is, fuck, why isn't this over yet? Because you've lost already. You're disheartened too quickly.
Especially with, I mean, this is going to be a solo queue complaint, but blind pick kind of sucks, because if Amaranth kills you first, her Q does more damage than your Q because you're in a mirror match, and it's like, I can't Q her anymore. Wow, this lane is really bad. Or if I'm playing my twin, and he's playing Varian, and I'm playing Mikella, and we're going for like similar trades, but he got that early kill because I missed a ward, and he's got a desire, I've got a hunger and a time or something like that, and like, I lose all these trades. Spirit Wells don't unlock for 15 minutes. He continues to out trade. He continues to out farm. I literally can't go do anything else. There's no other objectives on the map. I lose the lane really hard. There's nothing I could really do because we're both playing exactly the same. He just outplayed me that first time, and that's a real dead duck fucking shitty situation where it doesn't feel like you have options to come back, and that's gonna go all the way full circle where Mars is like, give me a 900 Vim item that lets me stay competitive and not snowball.
And here's the thing, that happens in competitive games where you draft. I know most people, like, that's the thing that most people aren't seeing. Like, in mirror
you guys
matches,
are playing. You guys have been playing draft games for months.
It makes total sense for people that, oh yeah, in a mirror match that can totally happen. That happens in non-mirror matches. If you lose one thing, you are done. Because as soon as you lose one thing, as soon as you die in a lane once, you lose at least one buff, probably 2 buffs. Then your jungler's back, like your jungler's behind. Your lane's behind because they died originally. So you have 3/5 of your team behind. Then they just go to the other lane. Then 5/5 of your team is behind. Then they take para. Then they push, and the game's over. And you're sitting there for 25 minutes being like, well, fuck, this game is over because we died once at a very bad time. And we have to just sit here. And then the one time that we do, like, GG out of the game, everyone makes a fucking hissy fit about it, all right? Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. That's all I'm going to say about that. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, there's ways to GG out of the game, and there's ways to G motherfucking G out of the game.
Yeah. I think that's going to wrap it up for now.
It's okay.
Any other, like, final thought? I just want to give away some codes, and then...
Yeah. Dude, I like the way she said it. 25 minutes of bleeding out is exactly what a standard lose game feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Muzzy, unless you have can come up with some good questions, I figure we'll just do like the random one.
I just do the random one. It's way more fair.
Okay. Random active user or random number?
Don't do number, please. I beg you, don't do number.
Do number. Do number.
Can
number is like 25
I
minutes
almost agreed.
Of spam.
I almost agreed with Mars, but then I saw we have 168 people in here, and I think number will go pretty quickly.
Yeah, it will. It'll end in 10 seconds, and they'll type numbers for 5 minutes. That's the problem.
All right. So number or
Doesn't
user?
matter. We're giving away a bunch.
Yeah. All right, we're doing user first. User first. And make sure you got to be following Bozos. Give everyone a minute.
I've had issues with users. It's selected users that aren't in the stream, but for me before, so that's why I would rather.
It's because Nightbot sucks.
Well,
in
whatever.
some-
They can get the
Sucks
code
a
and,
little.
and use it for whatever they want to do.
Sure.
All right. Starting for random user.
And so you know there is.
I won! I won!
What
What
the
the
I'm talking about? That's stupid.
We're gonna roll again?
No, but that one's not stupid because he's not.
I'm not actually
the
the.
champ.
Yeah, I'm on my account, not on the BDNA
Yeah,
account.
Oh.
He didn't win his account.
Oh, I thought you were on the BDNA.
No,
Okay.
I'm not on
All
it.
right,
So
never
that's
mind.
all right.
Never mind.
Rolling again.
I was like,
No,
okay.
it's not random number, moron. Stop
See,
doing this.
See what you did? This is what
Hey.
you do. You condition
did
them to type these
You did
damn
it.
numbers.
You did it. I just wanted to disagree with Mars some more. That's all.
All right,
And
rolling
just so you
again. All right,
By the
NA
way, Mars.
backpack. You win the
Mars, you're-
first one.
Mars, who's your favorite shaper? Go, quick.
It's between the whale and the dog. I can't decide anymore.
The whale and the dog.
Yeah.
Radiant and Sue.
All right. Favorite
Did you just
ultimate.
say Kensu? No, it's
Ken's is a
facts. What-
cat. Ken's is
Yeah,
a cat.
Kensu's a chat.
What did
come
I
on.
say?
You said
You said
Kensu.
Kensu. Favorite ultimate. What's your favorite ultimate?
Oh.
Kendra's old alt.
Slow mode in, please.
Her old alt. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
What's your most feared alt?
NA backpack. That is yours.
Congrats,
Make sure
NA
you
backpack.
got it. Here we go. Let's do another one. Rolling again.
Come on, Mars. Most feared ultimate.
Corin V. I've seen you around. You follow.
Corin.
I need to look at
You
Chambers
get
for
a
seconds.
Nisa code.
Most feared alt probably has to be it's actually probably Desecrators.
Awesome.
You
It's
good to
hipster
hear.
motherfucker.
no,
That
it's just
is good to hear.
ridiculous. People don't
It's
appreciate
super
it, but it's
versatile.
ridiculously good.
It's super strong and super versatile. I love it. That's true. Okay, favorite item. What's your favorite item? Currently
Order.
in the game. Ooh, okay. Favorite food.
I'll
This
go
one's
with,
from me. This one's specifically from me.
I realize. I'll go with steak. Steak is delicious. We'll go with
Okay.
steak.
Any cut of steak? Just
I'm
steak in
rolling
general?
again.
Any
Simtrum,
steak.
aka
Okay,
Turkit.
steak is good. And then last, if you could choose a vitality for yourself, what would it be?
I'm going to go with the fatty nature and go consumption.
Consumption. All right, Vaklu.
Volek, Mars,
There we go.
Catarix, Vula.
Yep.
Wait, Buzzy, you weren't here last week, were you?
I was not.
It's
What
Vaklu
happened?
now. It's where
I know it is. Shut up.
Oh,
Buzzy, where do you stand on the Volek Vulak or Vaklu Vulak stance?
Can we-
Vulak was the original, and I love that one way more.
Thank you. Thank you.
Doesn't matter. You
Where were
lost
you
the
last
game.
week, Buzzy? Everybody failed
sorry.
me.
I'm sorry. I'm here for you in spirit. Yeah, Vulak for sure.
I'm making a new poll. I feel like the last one was incorrect because I'll get into it a little bit, but like Vulak and Volek, people actually think that's how you spell it. So I'm making a new poll right now,
Okay.
real quick.
I did
real
say Vaklu, but that's because somebody else just said it and I was mimicking. But it's
Well-
totally Vulak. I love Vulak way better.
Vaklu is kind of the like Sheeb's variant on the joke. That's kind of how it ended up happening. Like, it ended up being Twerp saying Vulak forever, mocking the one dude that couldn't type for shit.
Yeah.
And then Sheeb's like transformed that into Vaklu, and then like the Sheeb's following just kind of turns that into Vaklu a bit, and yeah, just how it goes.
We're having a fucking vote right now.
All right, well, we have to make Twerp sad. Everyone make Twerp sad.
Don't make Twerp sad.
Don't make
It's tied.
me
It's
sad.
tied. Eat it. It's not tied anymore.
Yeah, I can't believe the betrayal of chat. Like, you'd think that Twerp being a likable guy, like, people would just lie for the vote, but no, they're
Vulak.
Twerp's rage is way too good. Like, that's the problem. His rage is OP, so they would much rather have his rage than his niceness.
They'd rather just make me upset.
Bamber. Oh my god, Vulak is winning.
Yeah, Vulak's winning. Oh, I can't wait to throw this at Spinal and Elf.
Oh, God.
Oh, it's
I
not
think
winning.
Spinal's watched.
It's coming back a little bit.
Oh, fuck.
Oh,
my-
it tied. It
What just
tied.
happened?
Oh, it's going. Oh,
Fucking
it's
hacker.
going.
Fucking
we gotta-
hacker.
Oh,
Did you enable double
come
voting?
on, people. Gotta make Twerp sad.
Don't
Did
make
you
me
enable
sad.
multiple votes?
Yeah, you did, because oh no, could not cast vote. No,
Okay,
no.
good.
It's tied.
It's tied.
It's tied at 33.
Who's voted? Why is
Ooh,
normal? Why is Volek even an option?
It was Volek to show people what the normal thing is.
Oh.
That's why he did it that way.
Yeah, because I was worried that people would be like, "Oh, it's so funny to spell Volek incorrectly. Let me pick Voklu," without realizing that it's actually the joke there.
This is a strange place. All right, I'm gonna do one more code, and then we're gonna sign us off here because we're getting close to 2 hours. All right, last code. This is actually gonna be for the Gamescom wards because I have a lot more of them. So, Decade, you win. I don't know. Do you have them? Do you want the wards? Let me know. I'll give them to you.
Muzzy, please. Muzzy, please.
Do you like that?
Or do you want the Nisa one? I'll give you whatever, dude. I don't care.
There we go.
In another random tangent, can we get buff icons before Spectator comes out, please? Like,
yeah, so you can actually shoutcast who has what.
Yeah, so you can actually, like, shoutcast to actually say, oh, they have all 3 buffs. I don't know which one rolls out because they're all blue wolves.
I would actually love for the buff to have a countdown visual on the actual buff around your feet.
Visible to you, yes. Visible to enemy, no.
Yes, visible. Yes, exactly. Although, did you know, Mars, and this is odd, some people don't know this, but if you click on an enemy shaper, you can see the cooldown on their ward?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the point.
Why?
Because you then can tell if they recently warded, so you know, like, basically, if someone disappears out of a lane through a side
you
entrance,
click on them real quick to see if they have a long cooldown.
And if they have their ward up and then they go away and then they don't have their ward up when they come back, you kind of judge how long they were gone for how far away they possibly could be. So you know generally where the ward is because ward spots are all pretty generic. So you know where they warded based on how far gone they were.
So that seems.
I don't think junglers use those buffs enough. Like I want to see a high elo jungler streaming, be like, I click on this guy, his ward expires in 3 seconds. He's gonna come ward this spot. I'm gonna pounce on him. Like I don't see that enough. I'd love to see like.
Well, it mainly only happens in competition, and it doesn't necessarily happen on clicking because like getting vision on that's kind of iffy at times. So what you do is you just go off of timings. You go off of when people ward and then the 3 minutes after that, which tends to be at about 4 minutes, typically. Like, people are warded around the 1 minute mark because they ward with enough time to buy their items and get out and get to where they want to be, but they don't wait. Like, people never actually wait. They want to get their ward because they want to be safe. So then you can always just show up at 4 minutes and kill them.
Okay. Well, this is going to be it for Moneypigs episode 63. Thank you again, Mars, for coming and hanging out and explaining all of your fun item stuff. Muzzy, too. Muzzy was fighting the good fight as well.
I just want to say, like,
I can have a good argument. Just so you know.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. I thought you guys really it was all fun. It was all good. We're passionate people that believe in this game and believe in the future of this game. So obviously we want the best for it, and that's. I got nothing wrong with that. It all remains civil. I thought it was good discussion. Yeah. Voklu wins again because fucking I hate you guys.
Yeah.
I was even here to vote for Vulak.
Good job, everyone. Mate twerp rage.
You guys are the worst. This is the worst community ever.
Good job, chat.
The worst.
I believe in you, chat. I believe in you.
Blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. So, there we go. This has been Moneypigs. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to follow all of us. I don't think, Mars, you'd ever stream. You just watch streams.
I haven't streamed since,
but you can follow Mars on Twitter. He's fun. He posts good things on Twitter.
I do that stuff a lot more.
So, yeah. Follow all of us on Twitter or Twitch or whatever the hell you want to follow us on. I don't care. Battle of the Bot Lane will come back this Friday. So, hopefully I won't be sick this Friday. Hopefully Spinal's back. If not, we'll figure it out. But either way, we will be doing Battle in the Bot Lane again, so you can sign up on MOBA Champion. John will get sign-ups up for you pretty soon. Other than that, sign-ups are up. There's Spinal. He put hearts. So, good night, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching.
Good night.
Bye.